He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome to the Alex Marlow Show. Big show today. A lot of news, a lot of breaking news going on. Get into all that. And I hope all of you are well. I got a lot of email. I got a lot of comments on my YouTube page in the last show, which is nice. I'll read some of those later in the show. I really like the feedback. So anything you guys want to share with me, aloha at alexmarlow.com, leaving comments. I read them all. So, and they're good. It's it's a very good time to be an American, I have to say, especially when you've got the option of grilling in your backyard with a Solaire infrared grill. I did it last night. We got the steaks out. So my sister's in town, Molly, and she is our comment moderator at Breitbart. And you know, some people eat to live. Well, she lives to eat. And she talked me into getting the steaks on a Monday. And I didn't believe she would do it. I didn't believe she'd have the guts to go to the grocery store and get the steaks, bring them home. And she did. And so last night, when I got done with work, she said, "Hey, check out these steaks." And I said, "We're having steaks?" And she said, "Yeah, you said that's okay." And I said, "I suppose I did." So then you guys know what I had to do. Fired up that Solaire infrared grill, besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. Finest quality ingredients, made in America, good people, good sponsors of the show. Fired that thing up, got up to 1,000 degrees, and I just got an unbelievable sear on it. Cooked a little butter, got a little honey habanero rub. It was good. It was good. And it was lean. We did the lean ones. So it was good. So you get that great sear, hottest grill on the market, locks in that juicy cook. Wall-to-wall pink in the middle. No gray band. None. No gray band. Those of you who barbecue, you know how that is. That's because you got that great sear. It's not overcooking. It's not. So when you get a gray band, if you're doing a steak around the outside of your steak, that's because you've actually cooked that part of the steak well done. So you don't want that. You want something that's hot enough where you get that crispy crust on the outside, and then it stays nice medium or medium rare, whatever you like on the inside. So that's it. That's how we did it. So besthotgrill.com, and then you can eat exactly like I eat. Huge news is Supreme Court allowing Trump administration to enforce deportations on gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. This is really, really big, and a lot of this is very positive, heading in the right direction. You guys might recall the Alien Enemies Act, which is this old-timey law from the 18th century that I guess Stephen Miller found, and he put this in place to block an invasion or predatory incursion in the United States, and he wanted to use it specifically against Tren de Aragua, this gang that was not in the United States until Biden, invaded during Biden. MS-13 is more complicated because MS-13, as you guys know, started here. It actually started in L.A. It's a bigger thing in Venezuela now, but it really was in Los Angeles. It's our export. Sorry, guys. We have a bad track record sometimes. But the point was we wanted to use this against Tren de Aragua and the Trump administration, arguing that they're essentially at war with our society. And this one seems totally open and shut to me, totally a clear-cut case that this is a perfect use of the Aliens Enemies Act. But there is a concern that too many people on the Supreme Court might take the viewpoint that the Aliens Enemies Act only would apply to countries. And there's nothing in it that led me to believe that would be the case. But we know that we now have these activist progressives on the court who do everything they can to try to interpret things in whatever is most charitable to whatever is the Democrat politics du jour. So that was the big concern. And we got the ruling back last night. It moved very quickly. It was blocked. But first of all, the injunction that took place came from Judge Boasberg. And those of you who missed the timeline on this, I'll revisit it down the road, but going through the whole timeline of when this case was filed, how it was filed, this is peak lawfare. This is all judge shopping. This should have been a Texas case that was shopped to the D.C. district because this guy Boasberg, he's a huge activist. Remember, he's already got 4 of the Trump cases, including the Signal case. So this is the lawfare machine, the superstructure, targeting him specifically and his court, which is the left-wing court, and trying to get them to take the case. Boasberg got the case. He got on a Saturday morning, so they knew he was on. They knew he was going to be the one who's going to be fielding the case. He took it, and then he ordered verbally for these planes to literally turn around in midair and come back, which, of course, is not in his jurisdiction at all to be able to do that. So once these planes were in international waters or over international territory, then there's no way he was going to stop it. And he could not issue his injunction fast enough before Trump and Miller had gotten the planes in the air, and they were en route eventually towards El Salvador with some of the worst gang members in the world, the most violent people imaginable. Everyone on the plane, illegal aliens, and almost all of them violent, and all of them, I think, were tied to one of these horrible gangs. Obviously, a great use of Aliens Enemies Act. And remember, just because it's old, that doesn't make it bad. It might make it better. Think about the quality of visionaries who were running our country at that time. I mean, we still have the Declaration of Independence. We still have the U.S. Constitution. These things were drafted at that time, and it is or prior. So it's fine that they're old. I mean, that could be good. And reading the Alien Enemies Act as I have since this thing has come up, I mean, it just looked completely rock solid that this was a perfect example of something that we could do. And so I was optimistic the Supreme Court was going to overturn it. So there's some positives and negatives in what happened. I'll give you some of the positives first. The first positive is that this one moved pretty fast. So thanks to the DOJ, Pam Bondi, who I don't think I've said anything nice about Bondi yet on the show. So the DOJ was very vocal about pushing this forward so that it was reviewed right away. So having an expedited review process. Now, these injunctions have to end. More on that momentarily. We should not have district courts blocking huge sections of the executive agenda. That said, if it does happen, there needs to be an accelerated appeals process, and that did take place here. It did seem like this moved through the appeals process quickly. Supreme Court shut it down fast. That's awesome, and that is a nice safety net if we're going to get these rogue judges, and we will. More on that when I get into some of the negatives. So that is a big positive. There's another positive here, and this is the subject of my Breitbart Fight Club interview today, where I have John Binder on. Those of you who would like more content from me during the day at my Breitbart Confidential show I do for our premium members at Breitbart. We talked about how this also bodes well for the birthright citizenship argument. Now, those of you who've read the 14th Amendment, it seems pretty clear-cut to me that the birthright citizenship does not apply to illegal aliens, because there is a portion of it where you have to be either born or naturalized in the United States and subject to our jurisdiction, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That means that if you're an illegal alien, you're not subject to our jurisdiction. At least that's how I would read it. I'm not a constitutional pro. I'm not trained in it. I don't have a JD, but it seems like a pretty clear read of it. So I'm optimistic that if the way the court interpreted the Alien Enemies Act, that maybe they will have the same thing when inevitably birthright citizenship comes up, because that was another Trump executive order that's currently been blocked. So that's very encouraging to me. What is discouraging is Amy Coney Barrett yet again sided with the libs on a controversial issue. This is one of her things that she's doing, and it is deeply disturbing that it feels like any sort of controversial case, she is siding with the three liberal women on the court. It is very strange in this regard, because the liberal women on the court were clearly operating as political operatives in this case, because to read their opinion, which I reviewed before the show today, they're really taking a originalist or textualist approach. Originalist means what was the original intent of the law. Textualist is literally what are the words on the page. These are approaches that are more associated with conservative justices. So pretty much the four or so conservatives on the court, we consider them originalists, particularly Alito and Thomas. And then, Gorsuch, we kind of see as a textualist. His libertarian mindset, he reads stuff really literally in the text about what the words say. And they're very close, but they're similar and fine. Those are fine approaches. The living, breathing Constitution that's the weird one, because that one means basically you can mold your judicial opinion to whatever are the trendy politics of the moment. So all these liberal women all of a sudden took an originalist, textualist approach to this, where they were trying to interpret the Alien Enemies Act as not applying in this case. And it was so stretched, it's so strained. Well, you have to review it to get more detail on this, but we have a lot of reportage on it at Breitbart News today. It did make you feel like they were really just twisting and turning to try to affirm this ruling that they find unpalatable, that Trump can just deport people en masse and go around a district judge. And for whatever reason, Barrett decided this is an instance where she's going to go with them, even though they were clearly acting politically. So very strange, not good. And I do not like this. That does not bode well for her future because she's pretty young and she could be on the court for a long time. And who knows what the makeup of the court is going to be, because Trump's not guaranteed to get picks this time, because a lot of the older judges on the court. So Sotomayor is getting up there, but other than Sotomayor, the other oldest judges I think are all conservatives, and they seem to be at the height of their powers. Clarence Thomas, I guess he's getting older, but has he ever been more powerful on the court? I don't think so. I mean, we're in a Clarence Thomas moment right now. So is he eager to slide off the court? I don't think so. I don't know if he is. So it is noteworthy, because how does this bode for future decisions? And sadly, it's looking each and every pick that Barrett was not the right pick, which it hurts me to say that, because I was very enthusiastic about her when she was nominated. And we were enthusiastic about supporting her at Breitbart. And it's not looking good right now, not looking like a great call. So anyway, that's disturbing. But I will note that the most important part of this decision is, if you look at it, it was clear from the context that of the affirmation of the decision, the court's opinion is that Boasberg went out of his jurisdiction. His jurisdiction should have been confined to a district. He's a district judge. This case should have been brought in Texas. Instead, it was brought in D.C. It was brought in D.C. specifically to judge shop for a left-wing judge that would have the political willpower to do the wrong thing. And that's what happened here. And the fact that the context that was presented is that this is the beginning of the court pushing back on the idea that these district judges can overwhelm the executive branch and have essentially a veto over President Trump's executive actions. And it's so essential, because recall that Chuck Schumer has bragged about putting over 200 progressive judges on the bench. So the Democrats nominate based off of their ability to control the political atmosphere of the court. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the smartest legal minds. They're looking for people who will do as they say on the court, politically speaking. So if this is going to be the approach that our Supreme Court has, that you're no longer allowed to do this, and let's see how it goes. Let's see what it looks like in action. The enforcement mechanisms are always tough when it comes to the courts, because they don't got a purse, they don't have an army, so they can't. Enforcing these things is tough, but their suggestion, in the court's opinion, is that Boasberg is out of his lane here. And of course, that's logical. We're talking about the lowest level judges in this country, the people at the bottom of the food chain. They're the ones who are telling the President of the United States, the only nationally democratically elected or representative democracy. There was a democracy in the sense of Trump, because he got the majority of I guess he got a plurality of the popular vote, and he won a majority of the states. So you get a democratically, so to speak, elected president, and he has to there's hundreds and hundreds of judges that all have the veto power over any of his executive actions. Of course, that's not logical. Of course, that's not what this country was the intention of the system, the way it was drawn up. So it's just a matter of, how do you push back? How do you reclaim the president's ability to overcome any sort of would-be judicial tyranny? And I feel like that the nature of this decision, the way it was written out, makes me feel confident that we're moving in that direction. And so that's a deep positive. So good news. I would say this one should have been a 9-0 decision from my reading of the law. So again, hopefully this is just because I'm not an expert and I'm misreading something that makes it more nuanced, but it always does disturb me a little bit when we're only one vote away from having just total judicial chaos. And that is where we are. But Overall positive, good day. And the victories keep coming for Trump. He's won his third big one in a row. As I'm starting to record today, we're learning that the Supreme Court's blocked an order for the Trump administration to return to work thousands of federal employees who were let go of mass firings aimed at dramatically downsizing the federal government. So this is from the AP. I'm reading from this now. Basically, this is people got to get back to work if Trump orders you to go back to work. So that's great. That's great news. He keeps getting stuff done. It just reminds you of how efficient he's been. And I know we all like to pick things to be outraged about and try to Monday morning quarterback things. But if we're being honest with ourselves, Trump is really doing a lot. He's getting a lot done. He's moving very quickly, and most of it's quite good. This is why you see this stuff like this on CNN. Check this out.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s.
You guys know this is one of my favorite parts about what Trump's doing is not just that he's signing executive orders and he's actually trying to do stuff as president and he's not sitting around asking for everyone's permission. He's defaulting to we're going to try stuff, and then if people are going to stop us, they're going to stop us. But we're going to actually try to do the job and to take this historic opportunity of being president of the United States to our advantage. But one thing that's I love on this is this shows that he did homework. And people to point to him, he's on the golf course or whatever. He's watching Fox News all the time. He did his homework. He had the right people who were in place. So on day one, and we're 2 months into the administration, 2.5 months, first 100 days still, and he's getting to work hitting the pavement. He's got this stuff organized. This stuff doesn't come together overnight. He's got very smart people, brave people, diligent people who are trying to get stuff done for his agenda. And you have to admit, even if you're on the left, that this should be the standard if you're a good president, that you are trying to actually do the things that you were elected to do. And you cannot deny that that's what Trump's trying to do now. He's trying to do specifically the stuff he was elected to do. More on that in a moment when it comes to tariffs. But let's hear more from CNN.
50s. The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Yeah, okay. So Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power. I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking, get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And
this is interesting with the lawfare, because I think a lot of this is related. I think a lot of the reason why Trump's approach has been completely different is because of the fact that he is, I think they've already thrown everything they can at him. I don't think they can do any harm to him. I don't think anyone can hurt his feelings anymore. They tried to kill him. They tried to bankrupt him. They put him through legal hell, drag him in those courtrooms. He basically won the presidential race from the courtrooms. And it's just amazing. You win a campaign that way. And so I don't think he cares about any hand-wringing from people who don't like what he's doing. I think he's going to do the things he's been thinking about for his whole life. It's a lot of these values, we're going to get to tariffs in a second, that he's had these for 30 years. He's had these thoughts, maybe longer. And now he's in there. This is likely his last chance, though I could handle 4 more years if we want to work it out. He's just trying to do stuff. And I don't know why we're shocked by this. And we are. I'm even a little surprised. It's because you know why I'm surprised? Because he didn't do it the first time. The first time he got elected and immediately tried to co-opt the establishment, and he tried to hire a bunch of people who were sanitized and were not in lockstep with his philosophy. People who knew how the system worked, but they used that to block him from operating it, unfortunately. Now things are different. Now he's got the right people in place doing the right stuff. Let's go.
And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump. But what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way. And that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms. And he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
Yeah. So it's funny to watch Kate Baldwin, who's been on CNN forever, that she just looks so sad. So Harry Enton, the guy who's given the presentation, he's doing a good job. But the liberal anchor is just sitting there going, oh, man, this really stinks. Really fun, really fun. And it's great. This is what we want to have. We want to have a president who is getting stuff done. I'll tell you though, I want to play back from the beginning because this is interesting to me because this is a segue to something I wanted to bring up briefly. And now I've got my chance. Check this out.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about?
Okay, so Soaring Eagle. So I was thinking about this because you guys have all seen this story at this point. I do want to bring this up, but this company has now brought back something called the dire wolf. So we've got we now have a moment here with our genetic engineering and modifications that we're bringing species back from the dead. And this is something where you have to be at least loosely interested in this, but science is genetically engineering a long extinct wolf called the dire wolf. And Times got a huge profile on it. Oh, we've summarized it for you at Breitbart News. Very popular, but it's been extinct for like 10,000 years. And I was thinking about this, and I think I'm going to invite the audience to participate here. What are the species you want to bring back? And I think I'm borrowing this from, I think I heard this, the Ruthless podcast guys did this. I think so. I'm not claiming this original idea, but I do want to hear your ideas because my first idea was we shouldn't be bringing back species. I want more bald eagles. When I go around my neighborhood, I want to see as many bald eagles as possible. That's what I want. So everyone's talking about woolly mammoth. I bring back the woolly mammoth. Yeah, of course. I would love to bring back the woolly mammoth. Obviously, I would love to bring back the woolly mammoth. I'd also love to bring back the velociraptor, specifically because the Jurassic Park velociraptor has nothing to do with the real velociraptor. The real velociraptor was like a turkey, smaller feathers, I think. So it's a Spielberg's version is totally fake, like a little mini fast T-Rex. That's not how it was. So if we bring back the velociraptor, that'll put that to rest. But for me, when I'm going through my neighborhood, and I go for a walk, you know how exciting it is for the family when we see a hawk in our neighborhood? It's so exciting. And we see him in my neighborhood. I want to see the bald eagle. So I want more bald eagles. So let's not focus on bringing back species. Let's focus on repopulating lots of different What about more Komodo dragons around here? I don't have any Komodo dragons in my neighborhood. You know how much fun that would be to see a dinosaur-like figure just roaming the hills? Maybe be dangerous for pets. So I haven't thought this through completely, but I do think it would be very cool to see it. And if I do have to pick one species to bring back that is extinct, for me, without a doubt, it's the megalodon. It's the biggest shark. It's like 4 times the size or more of the great white. I want to see the megalodon brought back. I don't even understand it, how you can have a shark that big and for it to sustain itself at all. It just seems crazy to me. It's almost one of these miracles of nature that reaffirms my belief in God and the creator. And I would like to see the megalodon. So that's my ranking. I would say number 1 is more bald eagles. Number 2, I'll go with megalodon. Number 3, I'll go with the I will go with the mammoth. Number 4, I'll go with the velociraptor. So anyway, you guys tell me, aloha@alexmarlow.com, what species do you want to bring back? So that's cool. But are we excited about this? I think we like it, right? Or is this something that people are just going to play God and they're going to abuse it because we ruin everything? Do we trust people to do any biological or genetic engineering at all? This is an honest question because I think a lot of God-fearing people will reasonably say, I want no part of this. But it does feel like if there are some things that can be lab grown, and could this lead to revolutions in healthcare or longevity? Maybe. And the world is a better place with more of these species in it for the most part. So I'm fine with some of the principles that go into it. So I'm really interested in that. And then once he said eagle, it made me think that I think people skipped right past the obvious answer, which we want more of some of the cool species. So have you guys ever seen a bald eagle in person? The Santa Barbara Zoo, which is pretty close to my house, has bald eagles. They're freaking phenomenal. We are so cool that we chose the bald eagle as our national bird. Amazing. What a country. All right. Trump's tariffs. White House is now going to impose, I guess, 104% tariff on China. China is pushing back hard. And this is interesting, but we're going to isolate this because China seems to be the only country that's fighting a trade war with us right now. It seems like every other country is not fighting a trade war. It's kind of a trade peace. And people have really sort of blown through this, that most of these countries are not fighting back that hard. Netanyahu has announced Israel will eliminate trade deficit with the United States. I don't even know if that's so great. It's we have a huge market relative to Israel. We can't have a trade deficit with them. We don't have to have trade surplus with everyone. So but it's just noteworthy that everyone wants to come to the table. India wants equitable trade, doesn't want a confrontation with Trump. So we're seeing every day, it's dozens of countries from what I'm told. I've got White House sources, and it is dozens of countries want to come back to the table. They want to negotiate with us. They want to have the ability to cut a deal where the United States is happy, because they do not want the threat of the United States it really does loom large over a lot of these nations. So there's going to be drama with China because they see themselves as an alpha. They definitely work to position themselves as strong. And Xi Jinping's persona is as a strong man. He's not looking to bend the knee to Trump. So we got tariffs going to effect at midnight. I will bring you some more detail on that. But Trump threatened a 50% tariff on China unless Beijing lifts its retaliatory tariffs. Beijing says they're not going to lift it, so Trump is going to amp up the tariffs. We'll see how that goes. Could mean, but again, remember, we got these minimus exceptions. So I don't honestly know how much it's going to affect people. So one thing to look at is, where is the stock market today? And the stock market is slightly up as we're recording the show. The Dow is slightly up. The S&P is down 1/3%. NASDAQ's down 2/3%. So I looked at it year over year. We're exactly where we were. So the stock market is where it was a year ago. It's down 10%. Okay, so this was the Black Monday. Everyone talking about Black Monday. There was some guy who was floating around, said the stock market's going to go down 80%. And we basically lost a year's worth of gains. And if we're able to completely solidify America's place in the world, reshore, create some more national security, so we're not dependent on chips and pharmaceuticals from the Far East, stuff like that. If we're able to start returning the dignity of work to the middle of America, and not assume we're just going to have this gig economy where Americans are expected to just deliver lukewarm food for Uber Eats, and that's their livelihood. If we can have this, and we can break this cycle where we think that, to quote John Carney, Breitbart, the stock market has a veto over public policy in the United States. If we can break that cycle, I think it'll be worth a short-term dip in the stock market. That's just me. I know some of you in my audience, I know some of you are probably big holdings. I just hope that you have some patience with President Trump here, because I do. I think we got to hold the line. I think there's going to be so much benefit with this stuff. By the way, Trump's reciprocal tariffs prompt Japan to launch trade negotiations with us. So Japan reaching out saying, hey, we want to negotiate with you guys. Trump fired off a truth bomb. Countries from all over the world are talking to us. Tough but fair parameters are being set. Spoke to the Japanese prime minister in the morning. He's setting a top team to negotiate. They treat the U.S. very poorly in trade. They don't take our cars, but we take millions of theirs. Likewise, agriculture and many other things. It all has to change, but especially with China. So China is the big one. All this is about China, and we'll keep an eye on that because China is playing hardball. But the stock market has not dipped the last 2 days. 10% drop. I get it. It's something. It's not great. But if the 10% drop temporarily, it is. How many of you are in the market where you're just trading every second of every day? Give it time. Let's see if it goes back. It'll probably go back pretty quick. That's my guess. All right. So, but more detail, of course, always at Breitbart.com with John Carney, who's our expert. John was on CNN yesterday, which is pretty cool. They had him on the Scott Jennings show with Abby Phillip. So it's good. He did a nice job. I was trying to get clips. They didn't post enough clips. We were trying to get a clean one. I could not get a clean one for you. But just know that if you are someone who is buying the establishment media Kool-Aid, you're probably in line with guys like Timmy Walls, Tampon Tim. Check out what Tim Walls is doing. He's on his tour. Remember, he's going around, he's talking to everyone. Check this out, where he's at right now.
Part of this defunding this is it's always about giving tax cuts to the wealthy. That's always usually a part about what they're doing. But I think it's more sinister on the public education side. I think you keep an uneducated populace is easier to control and do that. I do believe that. And I think,
first of all, it's all about tax cuts for billionaires. Who's getting hit hardest by the stock market going down 10%? Is it the rich guys or the poor guys or the middle class guys? Of course, it's the wealthier guys are getting hit the hardest. They've got the most shares of these companies. So he's not proposed tax cuts for billionaires. He's not proposed cuts to Social Security. So I'm fine with tax cuts for billionaires. I want to cut taxes all the time. But it's just fear mongering. It's not true. He's got a very strange outfit. He's got these wrinkly pants on. He's put on some weight. He's got a big belly and a small jacket. So it's just great to have. He's not presentable. So it's good. Strange shirt. Can't tuck in the shirt. It's tough, guys. It's an incentive for you to stay in shape. It's like you don't look good with a tucked in shirt if you got the big belly. It doesn't really work. So you got to keep the belly flat if you want to tuck in your shirt and still look good. So look, you guys know this is your top fashion podcast. It just is. Talk about it a lot. Is that a Q-zip he's got on, or is that a t-shirt?
I think.
Yeah, it's a Q-zip, of course.
I think
I'm going to call him Q-zip Timmy. I'm dropping Tampon Timmy. He's Q-zip Timmy. His other comment about how we want to have an uneducated workplace, it's also bogus. Here, I'll play this back.
Populace is easier to control and do that. I do, sister, on the public education side. I think you keep an uneducated populace is easier to control and do that. I do.
Who's more controllable? First of all, the left, all the people who just cower in their homes during the coronavirus. We all did, but the people who were the most into it were the people on the left. They were putting on the stupid masks and knew they didn't work, kept the lockdowns going. They did not want to live. They wanted to just shut down and be inside their homes, freaking out online. That's what they wanted during the virus. So they're obviously the most controllable people on the left. They're the ones who agree with all this nonsense. And the uneducated people, well, the bigger the education bureaucracy has gotten, the worse our test scores have gotten. This is the whole point, is that cutting down federal spending on education is not designed to make education worse. It's designed to make it better. But he doesn't talk to anyone like us, so he's never heard that argument. Let's play some more.
I do believe that. And I think by underfunding public education, you keep a permanent underclass that can do your work for you and the things like.
They want to import a permanent underclass, and they also want to outsource via trade a lot of our manufacturing to people who are working for slave wages overseas because they don't really care about people. They care about their voter base. And so it's all talking points. It's all just stuff that he's internalized and spitting out. And not threatening to me. And that's why I check in with this stuff. All right. So one other thing that the media has gotten wrong is spectrum. We've been talking about this. It is an issue that's just so hot in Washington right now. For decades, big cable, legacy media, filtering information to hide the truth. Thanks to podcasts, new media like this show, the truth can break through, and providing voices and views that legacy outlets block from the air. But big cable has one major way to control information, and that's through access. They do this by limiting access to something called spectrum. It's the invisible airwaves that power affordable wireless internet. And by forcing you into their bundles, you guys know bundle cable, stuff like that, keeping independent media out of reach. So Trump and the Republicans have a chance to do something that I think could be really big, change the game, and that is to make spectrum available for auction. So you can break big cable stranglehold on the information. So if you're interested in this, you can go to endthecableopoly.org, endthecableopoly.org. You guys heard my interview with Kelly Cole last week on it, really interesting stuff. You can also, if you're convinced, tell your congressman, tell your senator to work with President Trump to sell more spectrum, and could be a good thing. This could be a good thing. More on this down the road. Really interesting. But endthecableopoly.org if you want to learn more. All right. So one other thing on trade I do want to mention. Elon Musk has called Peter Navarro a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks because Musk doesn't like the tariffs. Musk must be very frustrated that he's so close to Trump and Trump is not doing something that will help Musk. Musk, of course, would like to have free trade because that allows Musk to work with China to build a product where he's taking the best of what China has to offer, which is that they have a lot of rare earths, which he needs for his batteries, in particular for his cars, and they've got slave labor. So you can, again, one of the Tesla plants is in Xinjiang, which is where the Uyghur concentration camp is. So I'm not saying Teslas are made with slave labor. I don't know it that well. I'm just saying that it's cheap labor. They got rare earths. And so he wants to be able to work in the Chinese market and to manufacture there. They don't even just have a plant there. They have a research and design hub there. So he's deeply committed to China. I've mentioned this many times on the show that Musk has said China rocks, and he has asserted that China's been superior to the United States. I genuinely believe that Musk has had somewhat of a conversion since he had that position. So I don't think that that's necessarily a permanent thing for him. But I know that his longstanding financial ties have been to the United States doing business with China the way it's been done in the past. And so you got Navarro, who, is I love Pierre Navarro. Pierre Navarro is a great American, but it's Musk does feel like that he is one of the most important people of our time, very close to President Trump. He must be very frustrated that Navarro is getting his way on trade and not him. So noteworthy there to clarify a couple of things. One of the hottest stories at Breitbart right now is DJ Moby. Why do people care about DJ Moby? What does he do? Missy, do we care about him? He's been attacking Trump as can you finally admit you were wrong? See, I think about this when you look at the stock market, it went down 10%. And all these people acted like this was the end of the world. And so now we have to admit Trump was wrong. Trump is doing all the stuff that he promised. And the stock market being down 10% is just not enough for us to feel like that we got anything wrong at all. I'm just telling you guys that that's not enough for us. Those of us who believe in America First principles, those of us who wanted a reset of global trade. Do you guys see the photos of Kristi Noem getting migrants, round them up, paddy wagons, illegal aliens, ICE deportations in Phoenix? She's looking amazing. Do you know how much we love this stuff? You guys don't understand this. We live for it. So we'll have footage for that for you at Breitbart, of course, but you've probably seen it by the time the show's coming out. It was amazing. We love it. So we're very happy. And those of you who are not having fun right now, I just, please chill. We're all good. This is going to be super fun. We have the Dire Wolves coming back, and we got our Jazzmin clip. We got a Jazzmin clip today. Jazzmin Crockett. She is gone to a new level. Let's check it out.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
So she doesn't need to talk like this. She doesn't need to say, ain't none of y'all. She doesn't need to say, raise your hand.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
We're done picking cotton. Right. No, but she said cotton. Like she has some sort of affectation. It's all affectation now. It's all style, no substance. Who's being asked to pick cotton? It's just not what is being asked. I want to hear her say, we're done delivering overpriced, lukewarm cheeseburgers. Because that's what Americans are doing now. There is just a soullessness to the gig economy in the high-tech world we're in. We're more isolated. We are losing our social skills. We are not more educated. We are not more read. We are hooked on prescription drugs. We're more depressed. So it's no one's asking anyone to pick cotton. It's just all fighting battles of yesteryear because she feels like it's a way to pander and get attention. And I'm happy to give it to her. So thank you. Thank you, Jazzmin, for providing this for us. But it is still a little bit of a surprise. These arguments were made at the Grace Baptist Church in Connecticut. And she's arguing that we need more illegal immigrants to do the cotton picking for us. But isn't that elitist as well? This is where their ideology is somewhat incoherent, is they act like they're for the people and they're not America first, but we also need to import an underclass of brown people to do the work for us so we don't have to do that work. So it is, I don't know. They continue to be lost, and that's why we need to continue to be happy and joyful and hold the line and to not buy into any media hoaxes. One other sponsor of the today's show that I want to bring up, which is just amazing people, is the Angel Guild. As editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, I witnessed the profound impact the grassroots movements have had on our nation. In 2024, we the people reclaimed our country, and now there's a similar movement going on to reclaim the entertainment industry. The Angel Studios is a grassroots-driven movie studio that empowers us to take back our culture. You know some of their films. Sound of Freedom is the biggest one you probably heard of. But they're creating content that's resonating with audiences, particularly Christian conservative audiences. They're trying to courageously tell stories that others haven't. So there's faith-based projects like Riot and the Dance and His Only Son. They're delivering content that's uplifting and inspiring. Patriotic stuff like Mike Rowe's Something to Stand For and Homestead. These are stories that remind us of the values that truly matter. So you can join the Angel Guild, and you can actually influence the stories that are being told. They reflect our shared values, ensure quality entertainment for our families. So you can support Angel Guild now by going to angel.com/Marlow, angel.com/Marlow. You can become an Angel Guild member today, and you can champion these films that truly matter. I will tell you that there is a rumor going on that China is actually going to remove American movies from China, which, you know, they're slowly doing this. I wrote a ton about it, Breaking Biden. My favorite chapter is how Joe Biden sold out the American entertainment industry to China. And then China is now gradually allowing fewer and fewer American movies into their country. And there's reports that they stopped. And it was because of Trump's trade. So Trump's a bad guy because now we can't sell our movies to China. First of all, as far as I can tell, it's a hoax. So another fake news hoax. But wouldn't you love it if it was true? Wouldn't you love it if Hollywood was told you will never make another penny in China? So stop pandering to China and start actually talking to Americans and making movies for Americans. If I gave you guys the list, and maybe I will, I don't want to do today's show because we're getting up there in terms of time. I want to keep these tight still. If I gave you the list of all the reasons that China bans American films, it blows your mind. You can't have stuff like ghosts. There's no ghosts allowed. I mean, they make the most absurd adjustments Americans do to our own films, to our own creativity, to our own art. All right. That's all for now. Let's go into some comments I saw online today. So a lot of comments on my YouTube, as I mentioned. I always appreciate those of you who send me an email, comments on Rumble. The Jen posted to YouTube. Retired engineer from the basic chemical industry here, have watched multiple plants close and head for China or India. I say support Trump and be patient. Good jobs for the skilled trades, and the chemical plant professionals will return. I like this. This is the right approach. Hold the line. Those of you who are in these communities that watch the factory move out, watch the plant move out, know that it's going to China because they can charge lower wages. In devastating the American culture, the jobs went out, the fentanyl came in. A lot of those people are not going to be that cowed because the stock market's down a little bit. David in Oklahoma. This show was great, talking about yesterday's show. I think that most of the electorate cares about the stock market only to the extent that it represents a belief in Western democracy. So while the dramatic 2008 level drop affected voting, I predict that 5 to 10% of swings over months is not going to provide effective Democrat campaign messaging. I think that is true. And I think that a lot of people can actually handle the 10% drop. If you're investing in the stock market heavily, you're probably doing very well. You can probably handle it. And you're probably at least somewhat understanding the arguments I've been bringing to the show that Coney brings. Those of you who read his writing at Breitbart. But it is a meter. It's a meter of how we're doing. And I think people look at the stock market and they think strong stock market equals strong economy. It's really only one tail of the economy. So it's a national character matters. Depression rates matter. How many children we're having matters. Jobs matter. Home ownership matters. There's all this other data that we look at month to month. And don't feel like one swing in the stock market means the whole economy is doing badly. Think about that booming jobs number. Think about how oil prices are coming down. Think about how egg prices came down. All that stuff is really, really important. All right. Amy Tolley. Tangled is hands down better than Frozen because Flynn, that's the male love interest in that, still has some masculinity. He absolutely does. Plus, there's a bunch of Game of Thrones inspired characters that help him. This is a point I made on yesterday's show. I am of the opinion that the movie Tangled is superior to the movie Frozen. This is a belief that I have, even though Frozen was more popular, did better box office. Disney was going to do a live action Tangled. We like Tangled, the Marlowe household. I'm so on Frozen. And that's not terrible. I'm so on it. And we could do another conversation, different day on that. All right. Jungle Johnny. Alex, what was the name of the Greek mythology book you mentioned in your show with John Carney? I have a 9, 6, and 3-year-old. I want to provide a book for them. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the book. I'm holding it up. Those of you who are on the screens. I think it's pronounced D'Aulaire's Book of Greek Myths. D'Aulaire's Book of Greek Myths. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. D'_AULAIRES. And this is the book that John Carney gave to Master Marlowe, and we're enjoying it very much. I'll tell you, I brought up as an aside, as sort of a icebreaker, when I brought Carney on as a guest last week, and I've gotten over a dozen, I would say, requests to figure out what the book is. That is the book. It is a free endorsement, and I hope that our paid endorsers are not offended by that. That's the issue. You can always give a free endorsement, but it can bother some of the paid sponsors because they're saying, hey, I paid good money for the endorsement. Then you're giving the D'Aulaire's Greek Myths book a free one. I say, well, you know what? I got to be real with the audience. So that's where we're at. So that's where we're at. We're enjoying the book. And that's it. I mean, that'll be today's show. Thanks to our producer, Misty. Thanks to all of you who are sharing, liking, giving me a 5-star review, leaving a comment, telling 10,000 friends and family members about the Alex Marlow Show. Talk to you tomorrow.